Hi, this is Andy Hoffman of CryptoGoldCentral.com and the World Crypto Network. It's February 1st, 2018, and after deep reflection of Bitcoin, humanity, and all I have learned throughout a 3-decade career, I've decided to make some changes in how I market my services and present myself to the Bitcoin community, which in the big picture, in my view, will be a positive for the karma of the most positive movement I've ever been part of, both personally and professionally. Those who follow me know I have an untiring work ethic, driven by a chronic fear of failure, which causes me to double down my efforts at times of adversity and attempt to fight back against anything that threatens my livelihood. That said, just as I say that government attempts to fight Bitcoin will ultimately be the equivalent of Don Quixote flailing at windmills, my efforts to move markets by sheer will is the same. In other words, I cannot make Bcash's valuation relative to Bitcoin decline by publicly bashing it any more than Tone Vays can cause Bitcoin to fall to 7,500 by publicly predicting it. To that end, I'd like to apologize to Tone for criticizing this technical analysis, simply because I don't like its conclusions. Like myself, Tone is simply trying to earn a living by marketing his expertise, which, like myself, he's doing 100% ethically. His contributions to the Bitcoin community have been as large as any public figure, and truth be told, I credit him more than anyone else for getting me through 2016 and 17's bitter scaling wars, when unlike today, Bitcoin's viability was unquestionably in doubt. To understand my personality, consider that while much of it is merely nature, a good part is unquestionably the negative reinforcement I have received for much of my career. Starting with landing my dream job as a Wall Street sell-side equity analyst at Solomon Smith Barney in May 1999, just before the dot-com crash, I have been for the most part running uphill my entire career, but nowhere more so than in precious metals, where I toiled both personally and professionally from 2002 until 2017, finally escaping last summer when I left the bullion industry and divested all but a small position in gold in lieu of Bitcoin and the startup of CryptoGoldCentral.com. From when I first invested in precious metals in 2002, and from 2006 to 11, working in mining investor relations, and then the last 6 years in bullion marketing, I believe with all my being and investments that gold and silver were the only way to survive the catastrophic financial mess that has since gotten much worse, caused by the most aggressive fiat currency Ponzi scheme ever. I quickly learned that governments too recognize this and consequently have suppressed gold and silver prices in unprecedented fashion, causing great angst to those invested in them. Consequently, I found myself fighting wars each day against the powers that be and an increasingly toxic precious metals community. Both were unwinnable, but ultimately their fighting took a significant toll on myriad aspects of my life. When Bitcoin re-entered my radar in early 2016, for the second time, given that I lost exactly one Bitcoin in Mt. Gox, it presented an opportunity I did not believe possible, as in my view at the time, gold was the top of the monetary totem pole, and thus, if it couldn't usurp fiat currency, in turn validating my career and investment choices, nothing could. My position steadily grew throughout 2016, but even after surging to $1,000 by year end, I doubt it was more than 20% of my total investments, with gold and silver still representing the remaining 80%. I continued to write about my increasing confidence in Bitcoin to the best of my ability, considering that my employer, one of the nation's largest bullion dealers, was vehemently against it, and by mid 2017, found myself seeking new, creative ways to incorporate Bitcoin into my precious metal blog each day. When incredibly, against what appeared insurmountable odds at the time, not only was SegWit activated, but the hard fork will destroy Bitcoin meme destroyed within 2 weeks' time in late July, I sold all my silver in lieu of Bitcoin, taking my portfolio weights to, I'm guessing, 60% Bitcoin and 40% gold. And then in mid-August, when my Bitcoin bullishness finally came to a head with my employer, left to start CryptoGoldCentral.com on September 10th, with the Bitcoin price at roughly $4,200, which I might add was the exact day of the Chinese crypto exchange and ICO ban, which, when it caused prices to plunge within days to $3,000, i.e. Tone Vays' perfect buying point, led me to believe that yet again bad fortune was following my career. However, when this crisis blew over, and yet another Bcash raid, prices exploded higher, to the point that I, for the first time, realized Bitcoin was usurping gold's 5,000-year storage of wealth leadership in real time. At this point, I sold most of my gold and went all in Bitcoin, with an average price over a 2-year accumulation period of less than $2,000. The early months of CGC have been wildly successful and rewarding, and as recently as 3.5 weeks ago, the Bitcoin price was above $17,000. And not just financially, as who could have imagined that in less than 5 months' time, I'd have nearly 10,000 Twitter followers and my own show on the world's top cryptocurrency YouTube channel. However, the ongoing correction, which in truth started more than 2 months ago when Bitcoin touched $20,000 on December 17th, has reversed these trends in business revenues, sentiment, and of course, my personal net worth. Crypto dividends have offset the weakness, as well as purposeful expansion of my revenue streams. However, the trend is decidedly down, and there's nothing I can do to reverse it. To that end, my typical fight response kicked in, to the point that, upon reflection, I see myself flailing at windmills anew. Be it Tone Vays, Roger Ver, Vinnie Lingham, Jamie Dimon, or any person I perceive to be attacking or otherwise threatening Bitcoin's price, I have worked tirelessly to expose them. The problem being that essentially nothing these people say or do materially affects the Bitcoin price, let alone the viability of the Bitcoin protocol. With the exception, of course, of Roger Ver, whose actions have unquestionably done significant damage. That said, my podcasts, tweets, and articles didn't and can't move the Bcash to Bitcoin ratio. So instead of expending so much negative energy attacking Ver, I will focus instead on calmly and methodically dispensing truth, which, like everything else market related, ultimately wins out in markets like Bitcoin that are freely traded. To that end, the other person who has served as an inspiration to me throughout the scaling debate and other FUD wars of 2016 and 17 is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, who innately knows that negative energy does not yield positive results. And thus, as he discussed today, when the Bitcoin FUD bandwagon gets full, in times when prices are declining, the most productive course of action is to merely ignore it. And of course, dispel whatever myths they produce without personally attacking them. Throw in people like Simon Dixon, the guest on yesterday's one-on-one podcast, who have taken such an approach to the heart of the crypto business community, and it becomes obvious what my optimal marketing strategy is, to be one of not aggression, but peace. Even with Bitcoin down to current levels, I'm in better shape financially than in all but a few weeks of my life, as in last month. More importantly, I am deeply entrenched, personally, professionally, and financially, in the greatest growth industry in generations, which just happens to be focused on the greatest sound money ever invented, surrounded by a community including some of the smartest, most passionate people I have ever encountered. In other words, the polar opposite of what precious metals has become. And at my age, 47, the potential for such opportunities to arise with enough lead time to exploit are extremely limited. Thus, going forward, I plan to take a new, more methodical approach to how I market myself and my views on cryptocurrency, which is to focus principally on the CryptoGoldCentral.com blog and my World Crypto Network one-on-ones, in a manner where I do not create enemies while continuing to make as many friends as possible. Ultimately, Bitcoin will win the day, both price and adoption-wise, no matter what I say and do. So in the spirit of peaceful revolution it represents, I will promote it in a manner far more conducive to the good karma I perceive in the Bitcoin community at large. Thanks, and have a great crypto day.